Okay, welcome back, students. So I've worked a little bit more on this drawing, and let me just say a few words about it that might help you as you progress through your drawing. So the first thing I wanted to say is that it's important to continue to work on the drawing. Like as you put in the light and shade, be open, be flexible to changing your drawing and making it better. You always want to have sort of a weather eye out for your drawing and making sure that that's progressing along with light and shade and volume and anything else that you're doing. The second thing is I've tried to work, as we talked about, working from, basically from lighter to the side to darker as I go this way. But I've tried to keep my thinking fairly simple. Like what you need to make something turn in space or make it appear to turn in space on a two-dimensional surface is just a gradation of tone, to light, to dark, to mid-tone. So what I've done here is just, as you can see, I've labeled a 1, 2, and a 3. So a light, and then a darker light, and then another value that's my shadow. So with those three values, 2 values in the light and 1 in the shadow, at the beginning stages anyway for a drawing, that's you can say a lot with just those 3 values. So try to think in those terms. I know when you look at this shape, there's just a lot of complexity when you look at the actual form that you're drawing, but you want to try to simplify it and make it all digestible for yourself. So if you think in terms of 3 values, I can make anything turn with 1, 2, 3 values. That's a good starting place anyway. And of course you can get more complex. Another thing that I think is important to keep in mind is as you do that, there's a real tendency to make the drawing so complicated that you lose sight of that original light versus shadow. And that's not good. You want to keep track of that original light and shadow shape. That sort of gives you the sense of the big volume, the big sort of massive quality of your drawing. And so you don't want to sacrifice that. So I've actually come back here and a couple of times I've come back and I've sort of reinforced this division line between the shadow and the light. I've tried to continue to make that, keep that uppermost in my mind as I do all these other things. I don't want to lose sight of that big shadow versus light. So, you want to stand back and squint and see if you're still making that big light versus shadow shape that you had at the beginning. You don't want that to disappear over the course of the drawing. I'm also technically, you might notice as you come up, you see the white. So with my drawing, I couldn't pull out enough of the charcoal. The paper had just had it. So I went to my white chalk, and that's fine if you need to do that to get things light enough. But if you do that, do what's called hatching, and you can see what I'm doing here. I'm making lines. I'm putting in progressively more lines to lighten things rather than just sort of scrubbing it on and blending it. It generally doesn't look so good. So, and by using the hatching, you can slowly build up the white chalk. But what I would do is to get to the limit of your paper first, make sure you can't erase out anymore, and then if you need to, go to your white chalk and you can add the white chalk to get more vibrancy to the light. Because that's another challenge here is as you work, you're creating these gradations of light to dark, but you want to make sure that you're doing it in the right key. In other words, you want to make sure that everything is staying light enough. You can do the same kind of gradations that I'm doing here, but do it all much darker, and it's not going to have the vibrancy that you see on this white object. So just make sure that you're keeping the key of the whole thing up high enough as you work. So so I think that's about it, and just do your best, and I look forward to seeing your drawings.